Now, one of the things that's really cool about you, and it kind of puts you in that category, is that, my agenda has always been Canadian talent making it on the big stage in the United States for the major companies. You have been able to achieve that, and I'd almost say surpass that. And in a lot of ways, you're a self-made man. You were able to do this pretty much, yourself by creating your YouTube channel, and then everyone took notice. I'd like to know, how did that come about? Exactly. What was your path?
So we'd be taking this back quite a ways. So after I had my epiphany, after I reached out to all the radio stations and TV stations in my college town, it was time to graduate. And I went, well, I need an internship, because I would assume that an internship would lead to a job. Reached out everywhere, didn't hear back from anybody at all. Checks TV in Peterborough, Ontario. I was like, well, that's close-ish. I live in Pickering. It's an hour-ish away. I found the email address for the general manager of the TV station, and I sent him an email and said, hey, I'm going to be there next week for my reading week. It'd just be great to come in and just talk to you about like how this works. What, how you do it in the real world. And he goes, well, if you're going to be in town, sure, come on by. It'd be great to talk to you. This was a complete lie. I had no plans to go to Peterborough, Ontario, but I was like, if I could talk my way into the building, sure. And 5 minutes into the meeting, he goes, we don't usually take on interns that aren't affiliated with, a college program and that you're not getting credits, but I see something in you. So, what the heck? Why not? I'm like, oh my gosh. So long story short, that internship turned into a job. I was driving an hour each way from Pickering to Peterborough, working my high school job at the fish department of PJ's Pet Center, a pet store, scooping dead fish and goldfish so I could pay for the gas to drive to my job. So that's where it like really began. From there, I got a job on Razor TV, which was MTV2 in Vancouver. Packed up my car, drove 47 hours from Toronto to Vancouver, was hosting a show there. And this is where things really started to take a turn for like, that bigger stage of America, like you're talking about there, Jeremy. I was on this show for a year. It was amazing. I interviewed some of the biggest celebrities in the world, some of the biggest musicians. I was reviewing video games as part of my job. And then CTV bought out Chum. I was working for Chum at the time, and our show just got canceled like that. And I went, oh my God, I'm 2.5 years into my broadcasting career. What do I do now? I don't have a job. And now I'm in this city that's, the other side of the country. So I packed up my car, drove back, moved back in with my parents, and then just started looking for work. And I would be like the final 2 or 3 for a job, or in the final 5 for a job, and I wouldn't get it. And I went, well, if I can't get a job in my own country, I'm going to start to look elsewhere. And that's when I started sending my reel out to agents in the US. And an incredible agency in Los Angeles said, yeah, next time you're here, we'd love to have a meeting with you. So I booked a flight to LA, met with them, and I signed with an agency in the US. And then from that point, got a whole bunch of auditions in the US, but I wasn't able to ever get any of these jobs because I didn't have a visa. And it took 2 years. My agent finally said, well, in the meantime, I was hosting a show in Toronto, but my agent said, how would you feel about being an entertainment reporter for the CBS affiliate in Cleveland? And I went, sounds good to me. Sure. Will they pay for my visa? I said, yeah, I think so. Went down, auditioned, they gave me the job. And that's when things really started to change for me. That was in 2010. Like my first week of work, I was covering the Oscars, like on the red carpet at the Oscars. Then I went to the Grammys. I was fortunate to win, my 4 Emmys when I was there. And that's when things really started to change for me, is I was able to be on television in the US. And, I love Canada. I have such a huge place in my heart for Canada. But in terms of broadcasting, there's not a ton of jobs. And I started to look around, and if I wasn't Rick Campanelli or I wasn't George Stroumboulopoulos, I love both those guys. They are my broadcasting idols. But if I wasn't one of them, where was I going to work? So the cool thing about coming to the US is there's just so many more jobs and so many more opportunities here. And I'm trying to take advantage of as many of them as I can.
Where, as I say on a weekly basis, we really have it rough here in Canada. And I don't think it's just limited to wrestling. Obviously, that's the industry that I'm in. That's the one that, I've seen this struggle firsthand. But in general, artists in Canada, anyone who knows that the big money is in the United States, we're restricted because, work visas are hard to acquire, the things that we need to justify. Have you seen maybe any of the material that I've put out in regards to this about Canada? Are you kind of up to speed, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I saw it on your Twitter. Yeah.
Okay. And that's why I reached out to you, because obviously you're very well respected throughout the wrestling community. Your voice can go such a long way. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on here, was to, talk about this with you, because obviously you rub shoulders with more people with more authority in wrestling than I do. I'm just a guy with, less than 300 Twitter followers, but, a lot of heart, a lot of guts, and I'm a somewhat good orator. So I've taken on this crusade. But yeah, I mean, we face a lot of difficulty here, since we can't go wrestle in the United States at a time where there's more jobs than ever. And it's so inconvenient to hire someone from Canada because there's so much more red tape, paperwork, money, which I've always said, for me, it's not a case of the money, because if I could just throw money at this problem, make it go away, I would gladly do it. But unfortunately, it's getting a company to back you. It's getting them to ask the government on your behalf. And then you have to justify that you're an exceptional performer, can do the job better than an American citizen. So you're not taking a job away from them. And this is why we don't see more Canadians on the independent scene and in big companies. And I think a bigger problem is that they're not even aware, because, like, for example, you had the chance to talk to TJ Wilson. We had the chance to talk to TJ also. I've known TJ for 10 years, one of the most supportive people of me in WWE. And even TJ said he wasn't even aware. And the fact that WWE's hiring process is based on, they look at extras at TV. From there, they send them to Florida. They do their week-long tryouts. And then from there, they decide, are they going to put them in NXT, what they're going to do with them. And I said, there's an injustice in the system there, because they only come to Canada maybe twice a year. There have been times where here in Montreal, we haven't even gotten a show in 2 years, TV tapings. They'll bring house shows every so often, but they don't try out extras. I used to wrestle in New England, in Massachusetts predominantly. And the guys there would tell me, oh yeah, I've been an extra 5-6 times this year alone. Like, I'm a guy who's had 4 WWE TV tryouts over the course of his 15-year career. They've had more tryouts in a calendar year than I get. They're getting way more looks. And it's not just me, because it's all Canadians here who can try to go into the United States and wrestle, but the border might stop them, and at worst might ban them for 5 years, if not longer. And then there's always that risk. And it's like, I've been turned away before. I've been searched. I've been everything short of cavity searched, as I say all the time in these interviews. And there's that risk. So a lot of times they don't realize that, even though we're all Americans, as I like to say, just because we're not part of the United States portion of North America doesn't mean that we're not Americans. But they don't realize that we don't have those opportunities. We would gladly drive the 7, 8, 9, 10 hours to all the big name indies to go there and perform. I've had offers from places like Texas and Florida and all these other feds that I have to turn down because I can't legally go because of how difficult it is to obtain a work visa. Furthermore, even the work visa process to get it, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 3-step process that has to go through several approvals. You need a lawyer for that. You have to put up the money, and they could refuse you with no money back guarantee on that either. So there's just so much risk involved in it. And I do believe that what needs to happen is that we need better scouting in Canada. We need people to look at Canada and say, they can't come here, we should watch them, because I firmly believe in my heart of hearts that we have future main eventers, champions, Hall of Famers even, but we're going unnoticed. In the States, it's kind of easy. There's more jobs than ever. And it's really just a case of putting in the work and, to a certain extent, just being good at one thing. I mean, I watch wrestling, I see guys and they are great on the microphone, but that's all they bring to the table. Or they're great acrobats and that's all they bring to the table. Or they're a great, physique. They're a body guy. And that's really it. And those guys are, making big money, more than me and Kyle and our executive producer will make in our entire life, probably in a calendar year. But we have guys here in Canada like myself where I say, I'm kind of well-rounded. I do a lot of things pretty good. And there are a lot of other great talents, I feel, that have the tools, but they don't look at us because, we're not wrestling on those.
But I also think it's important